Hey guys, I am recording today on Monday, November 30th. I don't know when you're going to be listening to this, but I'm only saying the day because it is an intense full moon lunar eclipse. I've already cried 4 times today. I'm not sure if you have, but you might tonight if you get bit by the moon. It's an intense time. And I do want to open up and talk about it because it's a time to move slow. It's a time to be very sensitive to yourself, to release anything that hasn't been serving you. If you're holding on to something for whatever reason, this is the time to really look at yourself and let it go and, move slow. Another thing that's really important to do is to eat light. You want to be light on your digestion. You don't want to do anything heavy. So, drinking hot water with lemon, light smoothies, very simple meals, nothing super heavy will be really helpful for you to continue to release. Another tip for, that I like to do is to journal through my feelings when it comes up. So, with every cry I went through over the last day or so into this, I'm journaling what I'm hanging on to, what is causing me to feel these emotions. And why is this so important to gut health? Because when we hang on to emotions, where do you think they resonate? Right in your gut, and they hold on so tight. And then you get things like that seem very physical, like bloating or constipated or diarrhea. And they're actually very mental. So much of everything that has to do with our gut is very mental. So, mentally speaking, today I want you guys to really focus on releasing something that you've been hanging on to, whether it's a thing or a place or a person that isn't serving you. Use the full moon tonight to really release. If you're listening to this later, you can still do this stuff. You can still really tap into it. Light a candle, journal, take a hot bath, play some old school R&B, whatever you need to do to sort of set the mood and to release, okay? We're in the season of releasing. We have just a short, basically month left of 2020. If you're listening to this and you've been waiting for 2021 to come around, this is the time to set yourself up for success, okay? You with me? So go ahead, get those journals out and do what you need to do. Today, I want to talk about how do you feel about your body? How do you feel about your relationship with food? How do you feel about your relationship with yourself? Okay, so switching from full moon and releasing other people or things or attachments, now we're moving into turning inward and focusing on ourselves and what we need for ourselves in our journey. Okay, today's title, Digestion, Non-negotiables. We're going to dig in so hard today on really these attachments that we carry from our childhood all the way up until now as it relates to our relationship with food. Okay, so this past week, I swear I listened to this podcast 4 times. All right. The podcast from Jake Woodard, Woodard, one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. He talks about healing inner childhood trauma. Okay. I had to listen to it 4 times. I journaled about it and I was just like so intently listening to this, what he's talking about healing inner childhood trauma. And I'm thinking every time I'm thinking about it, food is coming up for me. And I know that other people, this happens too. Well, when we are from ages 0 to 7, that's when our subconscious is building. And that's when we create habits that are long lasting that we just naturally do in our subconscious. And then after that, we start to build our ego and other things that come out. So when we look at our food intake and how food was brought to us from the ages of 0 and 7, we really start to develop what type of relationship we have with food through these ages, okay? So for me, when I think about it, I think about when my mom used to make these amazing chicken dinners, like with tons of butter and like potatoes, and she would bake it and like the butter would be bubbling, and this would be so warming and comforting to me. That is a memory that I have, Another memory I have from childhood with food was on Fridays, my mom would get to the end of the week. She was working 2 jobs, single mom, and we would just like order Burger King, and we would get to have like double Whoppers with cheese. And again, it would comfort us. It was like a habit or a ritual we would have around spending time with family and eating this food. So I want you guys to visualize with me. Now, if you're watching this or you're listening to it and you're not driving, close your eyes. If you're driving, do this later. Come back to this later. Do not close your eyes while driving. But what I want you to do is to visualize some of these stories, just like I shared with you. Okay. So if you had one of these moments when you were a child with your parents where you were comforted with food, or you gathered around the table, or maybe the story is that food was scarce and there wasn't enough. That was a big thing for us too. We were very low class. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. So food was a little bit more, scarce. So when it was there, it was so, we wanted to be so abundant with it and just eat it fast and comfort ourselves with it. So close your eyes. Visualize this story from your childhood, whatever comes up for you. What do you feel? What are the emotions that come up? Do you feel comfort? Do you feel neglect? Do you feel pain? That's a huge thing, because when I would eat when I was a kid, I would have a lot of pain. I didn't know what was going on with my health, and I always had a lot of pain, right? Did you feel happy? Did you feel joy? Did you feel love? What are the emotions you felt around these rituals with food that you developed when you were a kid? Now, as you're visualizing this, think about today, your relationship with food today. Is there any part of the story where you can relate how you felt as a kid to how you feel about food now, right? It took a long time for me to break this, but there were many moments in my life as I was getting healthier where I would want to defer back to these, baseline of food comfort, this baseline of food comfort. This is where we create that baseline with what happened to us when we were a kid. So if I was sad or going through a breakup or feeling sick, I would automatically think about, what did I have as a kid and how can I comfort myself like that now? Right? Because oftentimes we're looking for that comfort we had as a child when we're relating to this. Does that resonate with you guys? Are you feeling these stories come back in? Because it's so important with understanding how you're developing a relationship with yourself and with food now. How does that come into play, right? So, like I said, these stories are the baseline, okay? As we're talking today about digestion non-negotiables, we're creating levels. We're creating these levels of quality and boundaries for ourselves and the type of relationship we want to create. We have to do it now, okay? I like to call it, and I'm sure somebody else already thought of this statement, but I'm calling it this: reparenting yourself around food. Okay, so you are just creating a new story, one that you're not taking from your past, about how you view food today, what you're willing to and not do for your health. Basically, creating your non-negotiables. All right, I've been talking about this a lot this year because COVID and quarantine has pulled people back into this childlike state of comfort. There's a lot of stress and anxiety and fear around the future going on. So what do we retract to? We want to be comforted and held and coddled. And a lot of people are using food or even alcohol or drink or whatever it is to comfort themselves inside of this trauma, we'll say, around quarantine and the confusion around what might happen in the future. And I know many people who have been healthy for many, many years, but the pressure and the stress and the depression and anxiety around quarantine has pulled them back into old patterns, okay? So when we talk about creating non-negotiables, we talk about we are discovering for you what are things that you're not willing to shift or adjust even when something happens. Okay? Because guess what? Something is always going to happen. Now, when I was little, there wasn't like a lot of big, major traumatic things that happened. But as I got older, sort of in my teens, it was 9/11. We've had SARS. We've had, an influx of different things happening throughout the years. And it seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. Now, my opinion on that is these are messages from the world, the universe, God, whoever you want to say or believe in, that we need to turn in and tune into what's going on with us so that we're capable of healing this stuff, so that this stuff can stop happening. But if we're talking about regular life and we know that there will always be, jobs and work stress and relationships that end or relationships that start, or life just happens, right? You have a baby, all of these things can shift us. What it really means to create a non-negotiable is to not waver even when the conditions shift. Okay? So let me give you a little insight into what, something was created for me. Okay. Something that I've noticed about my health is that if I skip a meal or wait too long to eat, I get very anxious. Okay. So I've been working on breath work and creating my experience around that, because sometimes you eat late or you can't get to food or whatever it is. But what I've done for myself is created a non-negotiable that is, I'm going to eat at the same time every day. So let's cut back to 2 years ago. I went through a divorce and I was really stressed, and every day seemed like a feat to get over, just like this mountain of life. And I'm sure you guys have been there where something just seems so hard to get through. Okay. Obviously, this year, things have been really hard to get through. All right. So what I said for myself was the non-negotiable that I'm going to create is that I'm going to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the same time every day. Now, it might look like oatmeal 3 times that day. It might be, that I go buy a smoothie or buy a salad. Whatever it was that I was not going to skip that meal, because I knew that if I skipped the meal, that it was going to create more stress and anxiety on my body. And then what would eventually happen is that it would play into my stress and anxiety I was feeling from something different from the divorce or from the pain or from the stress or the releasing. So I looked at the situation and I knew that there was going to be stress and I knew that was going to be hard to get through. I saw myself for what I needed. I looked inside and I said, no matter what, I will do this. And then I created this non-negotiable. And every day since then, I have not missed that, because that was the non-negotiable I created with myself. Now, really what this looks like, I'm saying a non-negotiable, but there's another word that it really compares to that I'm sure you guys have heard before. Can you guess it? I'll give you a hint. It starts with a B. It's boundaries. Yes, our boundaries around food, our boundaries for ourselves are what create these non-negotiables. Okay. So like I said, if you're watching or you're listening and you have a second, grab your journal, take out your journal, and I want you to get comfortable. We're going to do a little visualization together. Okay. So again, close your eyes. We're going to do something called a body scan. So take a moment, take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out. Let's do that one more time, because I'm willing to bet you needed to breathe today. Okay. Really big, deep breath in and fill your belly. And let it all go. Okay. I'm sure that feels a lot better. Relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, and close your eyes, or just visualize. I want you to think about what is going on in your body. Okay. What do you feel? Do you have a headache? Do your eyes hurt? Do you have itchy skin? Does your stomach hurt? Does your body feel inflamed? Just tune in to your body and feel what you're feeling today. Do you feel tight? Do you feel relaxed? Do you feel happy? Just note what you're feeling right now, okay? Now I want you to think about what things, let's say people or food or life stressors, affect those symptoms you're having, okay? So I'll give you an example. Like if I was doing a body scan on a day where I felt bloated, and I would body scan and I would say, I feel pressure in my belly. I feel bloated. My pants feel tight, maybe. That's a body scan of a symptom that I'm experiencing. And then I would go into thinking about what are the things that contribute to this? What did I do that contributed to this? Okay. Now, maybe I overate my last meal. I ate it too fast. Maybe I, drank my smoothie and was chugging it, and that caused me to get bloated. Maybe I was stressed out about a certain person or thing, and that caused me to feel my emotions in my belly. Okay. So I'm relating my symptom to something that I did. So first identify, body scan, and then connect it, right? What is something that I did to cause this? Now we want to look into releasing it and understanding how that thing affected what we have going on now. Okay. So if I recognize that that thing is hurting my body, why would I keep doing that to myself? Why would I keep allowing that to happen to me? This is where I set up a non-negotiable or a boundary for not allowing myself to get in the way of my own health. Does that make sense? If your eyes are still closed, you can open them. And I would love for you to take out your journal, grab a pen and a paper, and write down what you're feeling from that. What did you feel? What symptoms were you feeling? What things did you discover or connect about your body that were relating to your symptoms? And what will you do now to be able to change or shift your actions so you can create healthy boundaries? And when you start doing that for yourself and you show up for yourself authentically, you are 100% changing your story from your childhood. You're changing your non-negotiables. You're changing the way that you show up for you, that will stop the cycle of you reverting back to a place where you didn't feel safe or nurtured or comforted. And you'll stop using food as comfort in situations of stress or panic or fear. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's not going to happen by one visualization. It takes time and constant reflection on what it's doing. Because today we're really creating just one non-negotiable. We talked about one thing that you're going to do. As you go on, you have to create more. So you're building a toolbox or a foundation of these non-negotiables. And eventually you get better and stronger, and you don't revert back to these things. This is how we create change. This is how we reparent ourselves, okay? The only way to stop a rolling wheel down a hill is to throw a wrench in it. So each time you create a non-negotiable, each time you create a boundary for yourself, you're throwing a wrench in a wheel or breaking the cycle, right? That's what it's all about. It's about breaking the pattern or breaking the cycle from these old sort of patterns that we've created from our subconscious childhood or how we were exposed to certain things when we were little. Okay? So I want you guys to work on that, weekly or monthly or whatever comes up for you. At any moment, you can take a body scan and see how you're feeling And at any moment, you can connect it to something that you might have done that is not serving you the best. In any session with my clients, if they come back and they say, okay, these are the symptoms I'm experiencing still. All right, let's look through what contributed to it. One of the most important quotes or statements I've ever heard in my life is, what are you willing to give up in order to feel good? Truly. Because you are the one self-sabotaging your health. I have been the one self-sabotaging my health. Why? Because I have small stories. I'm not enough. I'm not worth it, and if we continue to carry these stories, we're going to continue to show up this way. So we have to change the story. I am creating the boundaries. I am enough. I am worth it to feel this good because I don't want to feel that bad anymore. So thank you guys for moving into that meditation and that visualization, because it's not easy to look at these things that we have experienced throughout our life. It is not easy to break these patterns. When I started to get healthy and they told me I had to go gluten-free because I was having all these problems, the first thing I thought was, okay, well, I'll just go to McDonald's like I always did, and I'll get a burger, no bun. That is gluten-free, right? That was my standard. That was my baseline, because that's what I was doing all the time. I was going to McDonald's. So I'll just continue to go to McDonald's, but I'll make it healthier for me. That was the beginning, okay? But that doesn't have to be the end. We continue to create over and over these non-negotiables. We're building a foundation of not issues. We're building a foundation of tools as we move forward over and over and over again. Okay. So if you are listening to this today or any day in December, I have a special offer for you. I am launching a 4-week online program called Break Free from Bloating. It contains my foolproof 12 steps for healing your gut and eliminating bloat for good. But it's not just physical. It's about getting back to basics with your body. It's about understanding how your body works and how to break these patterns that are standing in your way when it comes to your digestion, when it comes to your brain-gut connection, everything from your mental health to your body to inflammation and on. We talk about our digestive organs. We talk about Agni. We talk about everything we can do to relate to the body and to eliminate these feelings of bloat. Okay. So for the month of December, I have a code that gives you $50 off the cost. And the code is BYEBLOAT, BYEBLOAT. Okay. Now the link to purchase this program is in the show notes. If you don't see them, you can head to my website, jaclynreneewellness.com, and go right to services and click on that program. It'll give you more information about it so you can understand. It's 5 modules. The first module is about prepping. And then as you move through the modules, you're moving through 3 of the tips at a time. So we're breaking down 12 tips, 3 in each module as you go through. There are healing recipes and protocols around intermittent fasting and boosting your Agni and creating the schedule, breaking the pattern of these old comforting issues around food and creating a new relationship with your body, with food, and yourself. Okay, so check out the show links, and I would love to have you guys in the program. There's a group chat as well that is very supportive, and it's all about the group and being supportive. So check that program out, and thank you guys so much for breaking into this today, because it definitely is not easy. Don't forget to create your non-negotiables, and as always, happy healing.